Welcome to another Quantum DemandCast. Today we're talking about migrating to StorNext 5. It's a huge topic. There's lots to talk about. And to join me, I'm Skip Levins, joined by Jordan Woods. Welcome, Jordan. And Steve Johnson. Hello, Steve.
Hey, Skip.
Excellent. So I've assembled here a couple of experts on StorNext. From the earliest versions of StorNext to Xan to the modern version of StorNext 5. What do you see every day?
So mostly what I'm seeing are a majority of our customers are in the StorNext 4 family, which definitely makes that migration path to StorNext 5 easy. Most of them are relatively current in maybe a 4.3 version or maybe even a little bit newer. However, we do have a number of customers that are on older revisions of StorNext for a variety of different reasons. And even those customers that are well back on the StorNext version, even into the 3.x versions, do still have a migration path to get to StorNext 5.
Gotcha. So those customers that are still on, say, StorNext 3.x, there's probably a good reason. Is it because it's hard to change, or why are they still on StorNext 3?
Well, oftentimes it's one of those, if it's not broken, why fix it? So there's a handful of those, but we do encourage them to get up onto newer versions of StorNext for a variety of new features or fixes that have gone into the product. But there are a handful that are kind of stuck where they're at because of application dependencies. But even in those cases, we do recommend that they get their metadata controller up to a newer version so that they at least have that part on a more recent update. And then they can run older versions of clients, talking to those metadata servers so that they still have that compatibility with their applications.
So that's a really important point. It's okay for there to be a version mismatch between the clients and the metadata controller servers.
Right, yeah, the big important thing is, getting that metadata controller, the center hub up to as modern a version as possible while the clients kind of come up. There's also, I believe, a compatibility matrix that we publish.
There is, and in fact, for customers that are still on, or for customers that are blending StorNext and Xan environments, there's a great chart on Apple's website and another one on our website as well that describes all the different levels that you can upgrade the different ones to. Obviously, we worked really hard on StorNext 5. There's a lot of great features and capabilities. The architecture. It was literally every piece of StorNext 5 was looked at to where we could derive greater performance. We're built for modern architectures and processors. There's a tremendous amount of performance gain, and we want those customers that are on earlier versions to come up to StorNext 5. It's never too early to engage with with someone like Jordan or Steve, to figure out how well their application might run on StorNext 5. Do you ever get asked to do that, Steve, to do kind of pilots or proofs of concept for customers?
We do on occasion. The nice thing about something like StorNext is that the interface is the file system interface. So even with all the changes that we've made in the back end with StorNext 5, the front end and the methodology for those applications to communicate with StorNext hasn't changed. So there are no coding changes that they'll have to do in order to use something like StorNext 5. Occasionally, we will get asked to do a proof of concept, if it's an application that we haven't seen on StorNext 5 yet, to validate that it actually does run. And to date, there have not been any issues that I'm aware of that we upgraded to StorNext 5 and then the application didn't work. So that upgrade path is a very safe upgrade path as well.
So let's say a customer is ready to do it. They get these nice fast StorNext 5 appliances. They've got this nice shiny new version of StorNext 5. What's the actual process to migrate to a StorNext 5 environment?
So for most of our customers, they have obviously existing metadata controllers. So if they're running, for example, an M440 or an M660, something like that, or even as far back as an M330 from the appliance line, they have a direct upgrade path without actually having to do anything to their hardware. And the really cool thing is that they still have the ability to take advantage of a great deal of the changes that were made in StorNext 5. Some of the StorNext 5 optimized appliances will have some hardware components that they'll see even additional benefit, but I would say that a significant portion of those performance changes that we've made will apply to that existing hardware as well.
Great. So, so let's sort of do the mental model of upgrading this environment. So you've got an environment with a number of customers. You pull out your old metadata controller. You put in one of the new StorNext 5 optimized metadata controllers. What's the obviously you want to you probably have the option. You could preserve your environment as is, or maybe that's a good opportunity to do any other upgrades you have planned for your environment.
Well, I suppose there's a couple models, right? You have the kind of the roll your own server migrating to an appliance model, and then bumping up to StorNext 5. There's I guess the staying in the roll your own model as you migrate forward, or then the appliance to the appliance, right? So I guess part of the migration, right? What are the tips and tricks to go from the roll your own to step into the appliance to get into that sort of easier to use family?
Absolutely. So, so we install a new metadata controller. Is there any impact to the user? That's a question that we get asked a lot. What impact is it to the user? What impact is it to the storage administrator who's running it? Does it change their life? Do you have to do anything differently? Unlearn any old habits?
Really moving over to the appliance just really makes their life easier because it's a completely integrated metadata controller setup that, whereas before they had pieces of their metadata controllers that were provided by different vendors. So by going over to a metadata appliance, all of that is put together by Quantum. We integrate all of the software, and if they're going from a roll your own environment into an appliance, then we have the ability to take their existing metadata, put it into that appliance, and then they can completely get rid of that old hardware and then be on a purely quantum metadata controller platform.
And the best news of all for these customers, especially in these really high pressure environments, is that if they have a question about anything in their environment, they can make one call and have someone that answers the phone that is backed up by all of Quantum's team of people like yourselves and Quantum Engineering that are ready to answer that question, ready to support the environment. So customers do appreciate that.
Right, and the idea too of getting a sales engineer on site beforehand to talk about those, the discussions, getting ready for the path, right? Getting those discussions laid down, describing where they need to go, and oftentimes that'll fuel more discussions of where the workflow is changing, and how are they going to best take advantage of these updates.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot under the hood of StorNext 5, so there's a lot of things people can change in the workflows to take advantage of that.
Well, so Steve, I asked you, so Jordan, I'll ask you the same question. When you get to a customer site or a customer is engaging and they want to look at their options, what are they worried about? What are their top concerns, and how do you answer those kinds of questions?
One of the big things we bring to the table as kind of having that media entertainment expertise is being able to actually look into the environment and figure out where are there efficiencies to be gained from these changes. So moving to StorNext 5 for a lot of people could be a big upgrade. It could be a big chance for them to start to re-architect a little bit. A lot of times we'll see people adding some more primary storage or other pieces of their environment while they're trying to make those big leaps, because this is the moment of downtime. It's whatever it is, Christmas time or holiday season, in these usual down periods for most companies, and that's where they plan these kind of big upgrades. So we can take a look at that on their workflow when we first get in. We can say, hey, you guys started adding more transcodes this year. Hey, have you thought about adding this a tier of fast disk that'll handle that? Maybe this is
and
the
that
time
takes the load off of their primary SAN, perhaps.
Right, okay. Absolutely, yeah. To start to add those little pieces to it, and especially when you throw in StorNext 5, all of a sudden you're like, well, hey, this is optimized to work with some SSD type storage. It's also optimized. Maybe they started working on DPX files that year. Maybe they took on like a brand new Flame system, and they're like, well, now we have all these DPX sequences that are coming in. Maybe we could take advantage of StorNext 5's I call them smart affinities, but it's able to actually migrate to different affinities based on extensions. So DPX files could live in a different repository of fast disk or more optimized disk. So we're at least having an expert like us, one of us there on site to discuss these upgrade paths. We can start to figure out, are there better things to leverage? It's kind of a nice
You know, and there are a
advantage.
couple of big themes that you know that I'm sure you guys see as well, and that is that people are moving from this model of ad hoc kind of storage, where you sort of throw ad hoc storage at a problem for a while to solve the immediate problem, and in media entertainment, customers that in the past really weren't ready to consider a managed or tiered storage architecture. Now they are, because they see the benefit, and I got to say there's a lot of benefit with StorNext 5 and how tight the integration is between all these different pieces, that you can have a nice manageable ad hoc SAN environment and then tier intelligently using rules to tier across to, say, nearline storage, and then perhaps to tape or AEL archive. Everything's all integrated and held together with StorNext, and they can really start to build much smarter environments. Very cool. So, so Steve, how about on the client side? So with StorNext 5, in our sort of model of upgrading here, we upgraded the metadata controller. What happens out at the client end? What do they see?
So depending on what path you're taking for the upgrade, if you're running the next latest version of StorNext 4.7, the upgrade actually is very transparent. We do what I call a rolling upgrade, where we take the secondary MDC, we do the upgrade on that side, then we fail over, and then once they fail over, they're basically on StorNext 5 on the metadata controller, and then on the previous MDC that was running the file systems, we do the upgrade on that side. And so from a client standpoint, they don't have to unmount or remap any file systems or anything like that. It's very transparent. And then as those machines are able to, we can then upgrade those client machines to the latest StorNext 5 code as well.
Fantastic. Well, the administrators love that, and the users love that, because their productivity doesn't go down. They can stay up and running, and they can take advantage of, when they're ready, to the very latest code base on the client side for StorNext 5 as well. That's very cool. Now, one point that I really want to reinforce is that if you're a StorNext customer and you're covered by a support contract, and let's say you already have maybe even an M330 or an M440, and you want to upgrade to the new StorNext 5 appliances, the best news of all is you can upgrade to StorNext 5 right away as long as you're covered by the support contract.
Absolutely. One of the interesting things to see is that with all of the changes that we've made and the significant benefit that they're going to see, we are often asked, well, how much does it cost me to upgrade to StorNext 5? And we tell them that, well, if you're under a maintenance contract, there's no cost to you to upgrade to the latest version. So that's part of their support contract.
How about different application environments? So Steve, I know you've been close to this. The StorNext 5 itself is probably best known for how well it works with large video files. There really is an art when you have multiple users on a video SAN, in a SAN environment, that are working with very large video files. But StorNext 5 itself has shown that it has a really great facility for working with smaller files that one typically wouldn't associate with video. Are we ready to talk about some of those performance numbers?
Yeah, sure. The StorNext 5, many of the performance gains that we see are most clearly delineated from previous versions in those smaller file type of environments, where they may not have huge amounts of data, but they have very large numbers of files that are smaller in size. And a lot of the optimization that has been done is with that precise type of environment in mind. So with being able to utilize additional caching and much more efficient metadata, we can serve those types of environments much better than we had in the past.
Very cool. Well, so what have we missed? We've covered how to upgrade from earlier versions of StorNext to StorNext 5. We've covered customers who already have StorNext 5 appliances to the clients, the application space. What are customers waiting for?
Just make sure they leverage their local sales engineer, support engineer, that so they can at least run the questions of what to look for, how to best migrate? Are there advantages that they don't know of that they could?
That's a very good point. It's never too early to engage. Help plan out your architecture, leverage best practices that may have been learned at some other sites, and get up and running on StorNext 5. Absolutely. So,
And one of the things, oh, sorry, Skip. One of the things that I like to talk to them about is, just understanding their workflow, even better, and even if we haven't specifically called it out in some of the features and capabilities of StorNext 5, oftentimes there's things within their environment that will improve that they don't really know, they don't realize that based on based on the information that we've presented to our customers until they're talking to us and we really dig in and get more details about what they're doing. And sometimes it's surprising some of the benefits that StorNext will be able to provide that that they didn't even realize.
fantastic.
Good point.
Great. Well, so I think we have covered StorNext 5. We would encourage every customer who's using earlier versions of StorNext to engage. Take a look at StorNext 5. They're going to see tremendous amounts of performance gain, scalability, the ability to address a large number of files, different sizes and types of files, to be able to go across lots of different transports. Once you fan out from fiber channel to, let's say, Ethernet, or perhaps even to something like Lattice for object storage, modern production workflows are changing really quickly, and I think we have a great array of tools to help these customers build a solution that's really going to work very well for them. So with that, I want to thank Steve Johnson and Jordan Woods. Thank you for this. And then I would add that the customers probably have a lot of questions about StorNext 5 and how to make the migration. And we have a lot of resources to help. There's a lot of experts and a lot of expertise ready to help you and get these questions answered. If there are applications that you're running in a StorNext environment and you want to know if they're going to work well, we have experts for that too. So with that, we encourage you to take a look and appreciate you joining us for a Quantum DemandCast.